Day 7 of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Putin is growing increasingly impatient, and he's got one goal: to take over the capital city of Kiev, because that means that the takeover of Ukraine is complete. That's why what we're seeing on the ground is Russia scaling up its aggression in the capital as this huge military convoy makes its way towards Kiev. On your screens right now, this is the video of Russia striking down a TV tower in Kiev that killed 5 people and wounded 5 others. TV channels, as a result of this across the country, stopped broadcasting. Russia had issued a warning earlier that it would strike Kiev's security service headquarters with high-precision weapons. Residents living close by were asked to evacuate. Russia had said that it would launch a strike against a center called the Center for Information and Psychological Operations, essentially to suppress the number of information attacks on various state institutions and Russian citizens. We mentioned this time and again here on India Today that this is a hybrid war in the 21st century. Moscow has issued a warning to all residents in Ukraine who live in close proximity to these communication towers, saying evacuate your homes immediately.
Все? Давай далі.
Давай. Открывай.
And a lot of you have been asking questions. Why is the focus right now on the capital city of Kiev? Why is Vladimir Putin and Russia focusing all of the troop deployment on capturing the capital city? We break down those reasons for you. One is, of course, the fact that Kiev is the power center and the capital of Ukraine. It's also the location where President Volodymyr Zelensky is reportedly located. So dethroning him means capturing Kiev. Another reason is that Putin wants to install what he will consider a friendly government, a Kremlin-friendly government in the capital of Kiev and thereby across Ukraine. Major military installations are also very crucially located close and around the capital city, which Putin will want to capture so as to ensure that the Ukrainian army, Ukrainian troops can't put up a strong fight. The world has been talking about how brave Ukrainians have been in this fight, in this war against Russia. With war knocking on the doors of Kiev, several citizens have stepped up. They're not leaving and running away from the city. They've picked up arms now to fight for their motherland. The state is providing them with these weapons. Civilians are also depending on volunteer coordination centers to provide them with all the equipment they need. I'm talking about food, medicines, all groceries. This is being donated to them in large numbers. Maria Pysarenko, who I'm sure you've seen in action here on India Today, visited one such center in Kiev.
Hi, I'm Maria Pysarenko, reporting from Kiev, Ukraine, and here I am in the special volunteer supply center. So it is also called volunteer coordination center. Its main idea is to help those people who are now being enlisted to help Ukraine defend itself, those civilians who get weapons from the state, so that they could also have other types of equipment, clothing, the protection equipment like bulletproofs and helmets, also food and all that stuff, because so far the state is procuring the official armed forces, not the volunteer fighters, so issues guns and rifles to them. So volunteers have gathered here in this used to be like a week ago a normal office in the old town Kiev. Now there is a big headquarters of people who are bringing boxes, who sorting everything which is brought here. For example, here we have the medicine medicine equipment unit, and people who are going through the boxes and boxes, piles of what volunteers have brought. Everything you see is labeled, everything is titled so that they could find whatever the fighters need. The demand is really very high because the active military actions are still going and happening all over Ukraine and also here in Kiev. Every day we hear reports about civilian casualties, about military casualties, and sure, everything is really on high demand. And as you see in the medicine department, everything really is very coordinated and going at high speed, and really everything is in order. The reason why this center is designed, so to say, this way is that a lot of people here are those who have been volunteering for years already, since 2014, and they have pretty decent volunteer experience, and that is why they already know how to coordinate, know how to do the logistics. Here, for example, you can see the piles of water, the piles of some drinks. If you go there, you can see people sorting food, and for example, there are some cookies packed, or bread and whatnot, the lavash and other types of dried quick foods. Then you see there are a lot of people right now, and everybody is running around trying to do what they have to do. Everybody has its own, part and sphere of responsibility. Here we can see the uniform, so this is like a pixel camouflage, which is Ukrainian camouflage. You see, yes, the bags of Ukrainian uniform, also the bags with bags, actually. So everything here is being donated by different, entities, by private people, by small manufacturers, small businesses, and here everything is, to make the volunteer fighters at a maximum equipped and to be ready, to fight in any circumstances.
Russian forces invading Ukraine are increasingly, it seems, targeting civilian buildings, and it definitely seems premeditated. No longer can it really be brushed off as stray shells that are missing military objectives, as initially it was thought out to be. It now seems Russia has fallen back to its tried and tested formula from its Chechen days of bombarding cities and towns to essentially subjugate their defenders and have no option but to surrender. In Ukraine, this conflict is shifting from that of an army facing another, as casualties are mounting among unarmed civilians as well.
A 21-year-old Indian student has paid the price of being a civilian stuck in a war zone. Naveen Shekharappa had left the safety of his bunker to buy provisions. He never returned alive. War takes its toll on the innocent bystander. The guns do not know who their targets are. Bullets shot out of barrels make no distinction between foe and bystander. Oftentimes, it is the innocent who pays the price of anger, hate, belligerence.
I can say with trembling of the heart that the first patient I operated since the beginning of the war with Russia was a 6-year-old boy with a shrapnel wound in the neck.
Death comes from above, early in the morning, without cause, but for a reason. The Russian invasion force is seemingly using cluster bombs in Kharkiv residential blocks. The devastation of non-military targets apparent in the debris of its aftermath. As the invasion turns increasingly brutal, the resistance of ordinary, unarmed citizens in Mufti gathered determination. When the target of occupation is the city itself, then increasingly the blown-out shutters, the crumbling masonry, the charred shells of once ordinary habitat records the progress of war. or its stalemate. The slings of 100 puny Davids, 21st century Molotov cocktails to defend against the Goliath invader. The successor state against whom the cocktail was first used. History loops around another all-powerful aggressor and the fiery stand of the weak commoner. On foot, by road, on trains, anyhow they can, the objective is to somehow go away, to leave the violated land. Suitcase in tow, children on their lap. Mothers have no option but to seek refuge. The future of their children are at stake. If they live, they will have a tomorrow. War, the misery of it. Deep crimson of blood splattered on the whiteness of disturbed snow. Information is sketchy. There are the dead. They no longer speak. In the haze of exploding war, winter in Ukraine has come to stay.
Let's also get you all the updates you need to know about India's evacuation operation. Unfortunate, tragic news that came in yesterday of an Indian student dying in Russian shelling in Kharkiv, the second largest city in Ukraine. Prime Minister Narendra Modi soon after called a high-level meet to discuss how to ramp up evacuation operations. He's asserted that his government's top priority is to ensure the safety and evacuation of every single Indian national, every single Indian student currently in the war zone. Several options are being considered to transport the trapped Indians. Our next report breaks down exactly what the government's action plan is.
Panicked because there are some of our friends who went out and bring when the actually the supply is very short and we have to go out for food and water, so it's like we are literally scared and don't know what to do.
Over here, we've been here since 11:30 and the Ukrainians are not letting us in the train. 2 trains have passed and we still have not got into the train, so please help us.
Here the situation is very critical, like we can't get food and water supply properly. Now we just went out to take just food and water, but no water is available.
यहाँ पे कंडीशन बहुत खराब है और हम लोग सब बेसमेंट में छुपे हुए हैं क्योंकि यहाँ पर कंटिन्यूअसली बॉम्ब गिर रहे हैं और फायरिंग हो रही है. खाने पीने का बहुत ही लिमिटेड सामान है.
They are many hundreds of kilometers away from the nearest exit routes. Stranded in Kharkiv, they are literally at the other end of the country, from where rescues are actually happening. But in the hellish landscape of Ukraine's second largest city, thousands of stranded Indians are just 40 kilometers from another country, Russia. With the code red situation becoming more urgent with each passing minute, is there a possibility that India can get President Putin to ensure safe passage across the border into Russia and out of the crossfire?
Where exactly Kharkiv is, it is far away from the western borders where most of the rescue effort is currently concentrated. So this is Kharkiv where the Indian student Naveen Shekharappa was killed. It is far away from the western border where things are actually happening. Take a look at this now. This is where Kiev is. This is the capital of Ukraine. This is Kharkiv, which is in the northeastern part of Ukraine. And remember, most of the rescue efforts are happening around this particular area. That's where all the exits are taking place from of Indian students. But if you look at Kharkiv here, the closest border is Russia. Could that be one of the exit routes?
Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a high-level emergency meeting on Tuesday night in the wake of India's first fatality. Sources say that with the situation in Ukraine deteriorating rapidly and with the impossibility of fully ensuring the safety of students as they try to make their way hundreds of kilometers across the country from east to west, could the Russian en route be the simplest and most risk-free? Russia border 40 km from Kiev. Route from Kharkiv to Russian border controlled by Russia. Exit via Russia would ensure fastest escape. India can use diplomatic heft with Russia to ensure safe passage. as the blood of an innocent student makes the Ukraine crisis very much an Indian problem, the safety over thousands of students, especially over 3,000 still in Kharkiv, a top priority. Will the Modi government push for a quick escape route across the Russia border? The time is running out. Bureau Report, India Today.
Russia is scaling up its aggression on the ground, and that's very, very evident in the images and videos that we've been putting out for you as well. Now, Russian troops have been accused of using what's called as vacuum bombs, a weapon capable of essentially vaporizing the human body in seconds. So, are Russian troops actually using this bomb in Ukraine? We tell you more about that in our next report.
There are bombs. And there is father of all bombs. If you think that Russians would not get overtly brutal in the ongoing war with Ukraine, the scale of aggression here will make you think again. The much feared vacuum bombs have allegedly made a devastating appearance in Ukraine war theatre. Russia has been accused of using the much reviled bombs by the Ukrainian envoy to US. Ukraine says Russia has dropped 2 vacuum bombs in Okterka-Samska region. These bombs are capable of vaporizing human bodies in seconds.
They are shooting us with missiles, ballistic missiles. They use the vacuum bomb today, which is actually prohibited by Geneva Convention. So, the devastation that Russia is trying to inflict on Ukraine is large.
The vacuum bomb works by igniting a fireball that sucks in all the surrounding oxygen to generate a high temperature explosion. The blast waves singe everything inside, leaving no chance for any living being to survive. Russia was accused of using the vacuum bombs, banned under Geneva Convention during the Second Chechen War. America too used the non-nuclear bombs in Afghanistan against ISIS. Ukraine is now gathering evidence to drag Russia to the International Court of Justice and begin a trial against Putin for war crimes. Bureau Report, India Today.